fight. The FBI attack is on a fight. Fight. The FBI attack is on a fight.
From the country, and they need your support. This is really important, and I want you to say it with me. StopFBI.net. Can you say that?
Personal artifacts, but documents is easier. So, release the document! Stop the grand jury! People, stop the grand jury.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
All right, everybody, Columbia, stop the sign!
Solidarity, not a crime!
From the Oregon Fair Trade Campaign to say a few words, especially in light of the fact that they're linking Columbia Solidarity activists to terrorism.
So, as Megan said, I'm Arthur Stamoulis. I direct the Oregon Fair Trade Campaign, and I'm going to tell you a little bit, from my own perspective as an individual, about how I view this as a trade justice activist. How many people here have heard of the Palmer raids? How many people here have heard of McCarthyism and COINTELPRO? Alright, well, I'm not going to tell you about those things. Let me tell you a little bit about some of our experiences in the trade justice movement. A lot of this nation's trading partners have a tradition of labeling anyone who opposes corporate globalization as a terrorist. I spent many, many hours, weeks, months trying to stop the Peru Free Trade Agreement from being passed, because I know that many of you did. When that passed, almost overnight last year, an area of Amazon rainforest twice the size of the state of Oregon was opened up to new logging, new drilling, new mining. Some of the most pristine, biologically diverse places on Earth were destroyed. Indigenous communities that have been in that area for centuries, if not millennia, are now at risk of basically being wiped off the face of the earth. And in Portland, we organized rallies and pickets, and we bird dog candidates. We did all sorts of other fun, creative actions to register our opposition to that trade deal. When our brothers and sisters in Peru do the same exact things, workers, farmers, indigenous groups, there are elements of the Peruvian government and Peruvian elites that labeled those folks as terrorists and went after them as terrorists. In Colombia, a country that President Obama wants to pass a free trade agreement with, that's even a more extreme example. That's the deadliest country on earth in which to be a trade union organizer. People there are routinely kidnapped, tortured, murdered for voicing their rights. And this is a country, Colombia, where huge parts of the Colombian government have ties to right-wing death squads that are doing that murdering. And yet there are elements of the Colombian government and Colombian business community that are willing to label anyone who stands up to the U.S.-Colombia Free Trade Agreement, as all of us do, as terrorists and go after them as terrorists. And we know why they're doing that, right? Because when you label someone as a terrorist, waterboarding, extraordinary rendition, assassination, those are things that frankly most people are willing to look the other way on when it's happening to a terrorist. And so we need to be very, very vigilant in this country to make sure that peace and justice activists are not labeled terrorists. Dissent is one of the most important rights we have in this country, and we can't let people take that away from us. So thank you all for being here.
In the barrios, criminalization of youth, criminalization of social movement, criminalization of dissent, and that's what we've seen. We've seen them come after the environmentalists in the Green Scare. Now they're coming after the anti-imperialists. Who's next? Does somebody from the ISO want to speak? I thought that was the plan, but okay. You're going to do it? Sure. All right. So a lot of folks know that the activists targeted were members of a socialist organization. Let's hear from somebody talking about stuff. Socialism, what's that?
I'll be brief. I just think it's no accident that there were members of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization who were part of these activists, anti-war activists, people who work in solidarity with Colombia, and I think it comes at a very scary time. I don't know if people saw Glenn Beck recently had this large rant about the October 2nd rally for jobs and connects all the so-called progressive organizations to socialist organizations, and I think it's very scary when you have the right wing re-ratcheting up anti-communism, anti-socialism, and the so-called left wing in the Democratic Party basically in charge of these FBI raids right now that are happening on activists all across the country. So I think we want to come here today and say that we are not going to let them split the left by any means, that we stand in solidarity with all the activists that had their homes raided, including the socialist activists, and all walks of the left are part of our movement here. I guess I'll just say, the brother before me talked about, that we don't want to be labeled terrorists, and I think that's very important. We also want to label some terrorists, and that's the U.S. government that was likely, I think, had something to do with this coup in Ecuador that just happened the other day, that luckily was beaten back by masses of people coming into the streets in Ecuador, similar to the way the coup was beaten back in Venezuela. And I think we come here to stand in solidarity with those people and against any U.S. involvement and U.S. terrorism in that aspect. And I think we also stand in solidarity with the Palestinian justice organizations that stand up every day against the constant Israeli terror, another terrorist state that continues to perpetuate unproportional violence on the Palestinian people. So we are not the terrorists. We have a terrorist government. We have that supports other terrorist governments like the Israeli state, and we're here to say we won't stand for it anymore. No matter who's in the presidency, we're going to fight U.S. imperialism abroad and the curbing of dissent here at home.
Right on. One is stop the repression against anti-war and international solidarity activists. The immediate return of all confiscated materials, including computers, cell phones, papers, and documents. We want the end to the grand jury proceedings against the anti-war activists. And I spoke to one of the raided last night. They said that they're most concerned about the grand jury, which is mostly a way to silence all dissent against this war, any future wars with Iran, and that they have a history of using grand juries against us, and that we will not stop our movement, we will not stop our anti-war work, we will not stop our anti-imperialism work. So thank you.
So we know that the activists who have been subpoenaed will not be cooperating with the grand jury, and that means we have some work cut out for us to support them. And I'd like to invite some representatives from the Oregon Jericho movement to talk about political prisoners and the work that they're doing.
Hi everyone, how's it going? My name is Tyler. I'm with the Oregon Jericho movement for political prisoner amnesty. We support folks, white, anti-imperialists, people from also black anti-imperialists from the Black Liberation Army, Black Panther Party, Native American political prisoners, and environmental justice and political prisoners. So we support people from a broad range of struggle, and today we're here to stand in solidarity with folks who are in opposition to U.S. imperialism in the Middle East and in South America, and it's just another example of 400 years of oppression that we face on this continent, really. And this is something that's ongoing. You know, we had the targeting of the anti-war movement from World War I up until today, and frankly, this is an occupation right now, right here in Portland. This is an occupation as well, and so I'd like to bring awareness about a local political prisoner. His name is Lumumba Ford. This is his picture. He is the son of Kent Ford, the local founder of the Black Panther Party here in Portland. He's a black Muslim man who is studying Mandarin at Portland State University, just a few blocks up from here. While he was doing his graduate studies of Mandarin in China, that's when the United States invaded Afghanistan, so he went to the Beijing embassy to apply for a visa to Pakistan to support the refugees who were fleeing the occupation. And so came back to the United States. About a year later, feds are knocking on his door and arrest him. John Ashcroft is on national television talking about a terrorist cell here in Portland, Oregon. But he is a political prisoner from our community who has been sitting in jail for about 7 years in these concentration camps. So we all know the way that this is functioning is to terrorize our communities, to stifle dissent by throwing us in jail and making everybody so afraid that if you even think about dissenting, you're a prisoner. People like Eric McDavid, thought crime. He's in jail for 20 years for thinking about setting fire to some logging trucks, and trapped by the FBI, a woman who slept with him and got him to write up some papers about how he's going to do this, and they came in, arrested him, threw him in jail. So this is something that, you know, is happening here and now, and we can't just protest and forget about it tomorrow when the next crisis comes about, when the next wave of political oppression comes about. We got to free our political prisoners, people like Lumumba Ford that are in jail for 7 years, rotting away. We've got to free him by any means necessary, and we've got to free these people if they do get sent to jail and become political prisoners. So this is not something that we can just walk away from. It's something that we'll all be fighting for if we want to take a stand against this imperialist state for the rest of our lives. So.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
All power to the people. Let's try that again. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Thank you. All right, these things get a little boring sometimes. We need a little energy here. I'm not going to talk long. I just want to say one quick thing. When we talk about our prisoners of war, our political prisoners, there are those that are here still with us today, physically, or there are those that have passed. And I think we should just take a quick minute and do like a presente and call and invoke the names of those people that have really died for this struggle. You know, as soon as the Bureau of Investigation was founded, J. Edgar Hoover was on the scene. He had a special loathing for Emma Goldman. He had a special loathing for Marcus Garvey. They tried to trump up Marcus Garvey with charges, you know, of stealing money from the Black Star Line and things of that nature. So I think we all really are obliged to invoke the name of those people that came before us, all of those that have been not only, you know, big targets of FBI repression, but of other repression as well internationally. So when someone calls a name, you say what?
Presente.
Presente. Okay. Emma Goldman.
Presente.
Marcus Garvey.
Presente.
Fred Hampton.
Presente.
Jalil Muttaqim.
Presente.
Marilyn Buck.
Presente. Malcolm X.
Presente.
Anybody else?
Martin Luther King.
Presente. Cesar Chavez. Presente.
George Jackson.
Presente.
Dolores Huerta.
Presente.
Lumumba Ford.
Presente. Presente. All right. All power to the people.
Power to the people.
Let's do that again. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Because we are power. Thank you.
Yeah.